Okay, welcome to Company Africa number 2. I'm your host, Echo Fan Grey Wolf. I apologize for how I would say this. Do not apologize for what I say. I'm really getting my social medias crisscrossed at the moment because I just made a blooper video about saying my TikTok phrase, which I just did. So here's how this works. Welcome to Company Africa number 2. I'm your host, Echo Fan Grey Wolf. I apologize. I want to talk about my book Sundown real quick. I am on the last chapter. I just finished off a fight with Kira K. Iron Eyes, who is the love interest of the main character, or at least the main character. Did you think is the main character? Who technically the main character dies at the beginning, so she's the main character, but justice is about to be served. So I'm about to hopefully this weekend get as much of this book done as possible because although we are closed Wednesday, I'm still going to work. And though we are closed Friday, I'm still going to work. But when I get off Friday night and Saturday night, I want to really work on this thing. But before I do any of that, I have to make a Native American video for Native American superheroes. I have no idea who the fuck I'm picking. But I've narrowed it down. Alright, so one guy's about to be brought in, without question, because Kira Iron Eyes just kicked his ass. So, and use some very good puns. There's a reason why my family took the name Iron Eyes. Alright? And no, it doesn't have any supernatural stuff in this damn thing, just common sense and things like that. And the scene I wrote was fairly decent. So now I have to write the scene where the older sister is going after the guy who raped and murdered the younger sister. Alright? I'm not going to give you any more on that other than the girl's a cop. Her younger sister was like the family's hope because the family's full of cops and the younger sister didn't want to be a cop, but her life was cut short and she was raped. So the story is getting to the climax, and now I'm at the scene with the sister who has promised the Lieutenant Iron Eyes that she will bring this bastard in alive. She didn't say she'd bring him in healthy. She just said she would bring him in alive. So I'm trying to work that out. And then as far as the two main guys and the third guy who's the main protagonist of the book, Hawk Aaron Longfeather. He's the guy basically based on me, but more down with just about everything. And the only part about him that's based on me is his martial arts skills. Everything else, he's based on just every detective in existence, real and imaginary. In other words, he doesn't miss a beat. So you may find a little Batman in him. You may find a little bit of other people in him. If you ever read any books with detectives, they're just boom, 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 and can solve cases. This is what this guy is. You could say solving crimes is his superpower. Alright? Now he's going after the sheriff and the guy who also killed his sister, who was also a cop. And he walked in on the guy who killed his sister and damn near beat this motherfucker to death. But instead, he wound up putting him in a wheelchair for what he thought was the rest of his life. That's your plot twist. Well, anyway, the sheriff of the small town is the father of the guy who raped and killed the main character at the opening scene of the book. This book is not for children. Anyway, in Sundown, I'm on the last chapter and I'm trying to write an ending that fits. Kira Iron Eyes' arc is done. Yeah, her arc is done. She's gonna bring in Sam T. McCoy. Now it's just I have to write the arc for Faye Talon, Tomahawk, and I have to write the arc for Hawk Aaron Longfeather's finish. Those are the last two fights I have to write. Those are the fights that are giving me the most problems because I want to have these fights be awesome and I want to end this with people getting justice, with me not having to write a court scene, or me not having to write all the genetic, dialogue that I just don't feel like having to write a court scene. Honestly, I don't want to have to write a court scene. If you want to know, let me explain. And I will explain it with my 2 degrees in college. Alright, so this is my police science degree. Government name. So I tried to use as much law enforcement stuff that I've learned in the books. Except for I don't know tribal law enforcement. So that's a stretch. I also found out that some things I had took out the book, I had to put back in the book because apparently the BIA can arrest people. I did not know that, but apparently they can. So this is my degree in criminal justice. It's a certificate more than a degree, but it still can get me a job. Anyway, so when I tell y'all I have a degree in police science and criminal justice, there's your fucking proof. Now, the problem is, tribal law is different than regular law. So that was where I had to either stretch the fuck out of my imagination or pray that I don't fuck this up. And the answer to that is true. I stretch the fuck out of my imagination and I'm praying that I don't fuck this shit up. Okay? Now, the tribal police is the main thing involved in this because the incident at the beginning of the book happens on tribal land, which means they have jurisdiction over the case. However, the suspect is the son of a motherfucking sheriff, i.e. the small town, i.e. the name Sundown. Now, the Sundown town is between Los Angeles and the motherfucking damn Native American territory reservation kind of shit. So basically, you got a long way to go through the small Sundown town and its county, and the reservation is behind it, while LA is closer to it, but further away from it. So basically, it's like you got a swamp and a bayou. Alright? So, this right here is going to be the representation of your swamp. Alright? And this is going to be the representation of your bayou. So basically, I don't know if y'all can see this, but basically, all of this is native territory. And this is Bennettsville, who got approved for a expansion to make them this big. Which means they're going to not so much as infringe on native territory, but build out that way where they can get shit. And the new police station is part of the problem. And the sheriff likes only being the only sheriff because the town's small enough where they only need 2 people to run the sheriff. Well, his family member, the mayor, has decided we want a bigger police force. Instead of that way, you have a night shift guy and a day shift guy, and all hell is about to break loose. But that arc is also basically complete because we're on the final chapter, and the sheriff and the former police captain of the tribal police, who was also the chief of the tribe at one point, and in that point, he lost both jobs because he killed the sister of the main guy. And the main guy caught him and then beat him halfway to death. Put him in a wheelchair. And to prevent from going to prison himself, he was put into the military. And then his military record just became exemplary. So when he got out of the military, he went back to doing police work. He just didn't go back to police work on the tribal police. He became a U.S. Marshal. His basic nickname is Detective Hell because he doesn't miss a thing. If you spit somewhere and he saw it, he can find out where you spit at, even if it dried the fuck up. So this motherfucker's fucking amazing. Alright? Now you understand the problem. How am I gonna end this goddamn book? And that's been the gist of it right there. I've given you enough that you're gonna want to read it when this motherfucker drops. But I need to know how to end it. Again, Kira K. Iron Eyes arc is done. She's bringing in Sam T. McCoy. I finished that this weekend. So now I only have 2 fights left to write. The Big Boss, which would be the sheriff and the former police captain slash former chief of the Moonstone tribe. And then I have to write the Fey Talon Tomahawks battle against the guy who beat and raped her sister and then killed her on the reservation. Oh, spoiler alert. He also killed her cousin who was gay and half black and half native, meaning he was a two-spirit person. And so when you get to the scene in the book where they're chasing them through the tunnel, he's done lost his everlasting mind because Faye looks like her younger sister, or her younger sister looks like her. So dude is having a mental break, and he has a gun. However, when you get through that part, because it switches back and forth between Kay and Faye fighting the bad guys, I'm at the final fight. Dude's out of bullets. Faye and him about to go down, and he pulled out a knife. That's right. Basically the same knife that he hurt her sister with. And I'm lost. I don't know what to do from there. I really don't know how I'm going to write this shit. But I don't want to go back to the three guys that are going to be fighting at the prison known as the Brick. The Brick is a federal prison where the worst of the worst go there. And the only people who really know about it are the people who work there and the government itself. It is a government prison for the worst of the worst of the worst. Any prison out here in the world has nothing on the Brick. It is built on top of a mountain and inside of a mountain. But everybody doesn't know about the part inside the mountain because that's reserved for the worst of the worst of the very worst, which means they have about 13 floors to go up to escape. But the book itself doesn't really go into detail on what's down there. It does mention it because of what the situation requires, and the cops need to go into the secret part to get weapons to come back. But I want to end the fight before they do that. And so the final fight's going to be Hawk, Aaron, Longfeather in a 3-for-all brawl against the small town sheriff, redneck punk ass bitch Liam Bennett, and the chief Stephen Crow Stoner. So it's going to be 2 natives and 1 white fella battling it out. I just got to figure out how I'm going to write it and how I'm going to end the fight. Now, I have it in my mind how I want it to end the fight because I, again, don't want to put my police science and criminal justice degree into writing a fucking court scene. I don't want this book to drag on much longer. I'm at 960 pages. So I want to try to end this bitch before I'm well past 1,015. And then I want to do like a eulogy or whatever and have the ending written like a time jump in maybe some months later or whatever. But I'm still working on that in my brain. So first this weekend we're going to have the climactic battle with the rapist murderer guy and the sister. And then I'm going to go to the final fight. And I want you guys to be able to read this fucking shit and be like, yeah! Yeah! But at the end, when the book is said and done, I don't want anybody saying, we loved all your characters. When's the second part? So I'm going to let you know right now. I don't write second parts. I write ones and done. This will not be like a Harry Potter thing. If there will be a second part, I won't be the one writing it. And the only way that's going to happen is if I have complete and total control over what happens in the story. Alright? Because all the hell that the people go through in story 1, I don't want them to go through that shit no more. Now, if they want to do a spinoff, and I still have control, and they want to take some of the college kids that are traumatized from the event of losing their friend through rape and murder, I can have leeway on that because there are 2 martial artists and there is a martial arts scene where they get their ass kicked by a woman. But as far as my main people in the thing, I don't want any of them, especially the natives, to go through any more shit. Alright, I'm gonna show you my cast list real quick, and then we're gonna end this video. Alright, because there are some people I'm willing to have like side stories with. I just don't want to have to be the one to write it. So the first person, the 2 victims, Allie Ann Tomahawk and Thomas James Jones. He's biracial. He's part Native and part black. His mother is her aunt. All right. And so when you get down here to the U.S. Marshals, you got Lieutenant Hawk Aaron Longfeather. He's the main guy. Yeah, he's the guy that the story is all based around, and he's Detective Hell. All right, he's 42 years old. So I gave them a little bit of age so that people can understand that just because you're old doesn't mean you stop living. Jason Ryan Bennett is your murderer and your rapist. He's a white dude. He's 25. Now, mind you, back up here, the victims are 22 and 21 years old, and they're cousins. They're Native Americans, but one's half Native and one half black. And the one that's half black, he's gay. He's openly gay. All right? And yes, he does not have a problem rocking dresses, because if you go deep enough in the book, you'll understand the dress is very important. All right? And he made the dress. I'm not trying to give you too much of the book, but he made the dress for him and his cousin. They were identical dresses because they were going to do the ceremony or something, but neither one of them lived to see it. All right? And I'm also not going to put it in the book because there's pretendians, and I don't want to give any ceremonial shit away. So now you have the tribal police. You have Tina Arrowhead, who's also the cousin of Longfeather. Their parents are from the same parent, but her mom married an Arrowhead. All right, so and her mom and them, and then on top of that, they're kind of kin to the Tomahawk family. All right, so hey, look, it's a Native thing, but you know, not everybody in the tribal police are kin, but at least three of these people are kin. So yeah, that's just the way it is, and no favoritism. And then you have the Tomahawk family. The father is a coroner, but he also was once a tribal police member, so he became a coroner, and he has to deal with his daughter's body and the DNA and all the other shit. The story's gonna be great when you get to read it. All right. So then after you get through all the family members there, then you get to the Jones family. These are all of their family members of people who are in the police department. All right. Then you get to the tribal council. All right. You have Chief Aaron Armstrong, who's trying to hold it together while at least 3 or 4 of these council members are trying to vote him out. All right. But he's done the best for the Moonstar tribe since he's been in there. For the 10 years he's been in there, with the exception of the murder of the Tomahawk girl. Everybody loves this guy except for a couple of jealous fucking natives. And these are old money natives. I'm going to get so much hate for that from natives. Okay, let me explain it, because I'm not res connected. I'm just tribally connected by blood. Old money natives mean that, if anything, your family has had like the most standings in the tribe. So old money natives don't like this guy. He's old money too, but he's earned his position. Where these motherfuckers, they have their positions because it's like basically not real, but it's by like blood positions. But one of his ancestors and one of the Tomahawk's ancestors and one of the Longfeather ancestors were like the highest ranking, like chiefs, war chiefs, counselors, shamans and shit. So that's why they keep it political, but they keep it more the higher rank your family was back in the day, you get the higher ranking positions. Alright, which also means you probably have the most money. Alright, now when you get down into the college students, I'm willing to yield control over the college students for another book. If they want to use the college students, I'm actually okay with that. Because, you know, the college students, you know, because they're not going to have any more. Their arc was done like in chapter 2 or 3. Now, as far as the Longfeathers, no, they're off the table. Because this is the elderly. They're 82 and 83. And guess what they do for a living? They YouTube on motorcycles. Yeah, you're going to love it. When you get to that part, you're going to love that love story. There's like 7 stories in this goddamn book. Alright. Then you get to the FBI agents. There, so you're going to have that. And then you get to the Arrowheads, which are also in their late 60s. You know, because if you see Sky Knife Longfeather is Tina Arrowhead's mom, and she's a Longfeather. All right. So you get deep in the cast list because this will also be at the end of the book. Then you get to the Moonstone Reservation hospital staff, where you have Janet Torrey Longfeather. Yeah, she's a Longfeather, and she runs the hospital. So, in other words, the Longfeather family has the highest standing in the community. All right, with the exception of Stoner, um, the old chief. Because they rotate chieftains, but they also rotate it by blood, and they also rotate it by family rankings. That's the underlying rankings, and the jealous people want to change it. So then you have the BIA. I brought them in. It's ran by a girl who's half native and half Chinese. Her name is Aura. It's named after my friend Aura from TikTok. Bay Stone Stepper Chow. Her daddy is Chinese. Her mom is a Stone Stepper. Look, don't fucking judge native names, all right? So, Stone Stepper is not a real native name. It was the best thing I could do because I don't want to give too much shit. Because, initially natives didn't have actual European last names like they kind of do today. So everybody in the BIA, for the most part, is a Native American with the exception of Chow, who's biracial. She's still native, and she's all about her native people, but she's half Chinese, but she's also Native American. But she does more for the Native community in the BIA than some of the BIA motherfuckers in real life that I've actually spoken to. So then after you get to that, you get to the high-ranking government officials who have a little bit of an arc where the natives have to go get a warrant to get the cop under arrest and the kids after the DNA and all the other stuff comes to. I'm trying not to give y'all too much of this motherfucking book. I'm just letting you know where I'm at. There's also going to be a lot of reader's notes. And this is the brick. This is the Imperial brick. So, Captain Walter Wolf Timberlake, also a Native American. He's kind of greedy, but he gets replaced by another member of the family, and she's a Rivers. She's also kin to Aaron by marriage or by blood. I can't remember. I think it's her mother who's a Longfeather, and her father who's a Rivers. So there's like a whole lot of shit going on with that. So, but she's his cousin, and so I did her arc with drones in a police car, and it was fucking awesome. It's gonna be a great read when you read it, because she's like the main cop while all of her other cops are in prison. And so this is the brick. Where the hell did I turn the page? No. It's called the Imperial Brick. It is the highest security prison. I forgot why I used the acronym of BRIC, but it's a brick. But I also misspelled brick on purposely. The brick here is spelled B-R-I-X versus B-R-I-C-K. But it's called the brick. So if anybody wants to know why it has an X instead of an I-C-K, brick. Like I didn't want it to sound too normal. I think I put an acronym in this motherfucker by spelling it that way, but I can't remember. I don't see it on here. So obviously I fucked up somewhere, but the Imperial Brick is basically a place where if you fucked up, you're there. If you are a murderer, a rapist, or a child molester, you're more than likely going to be in the brick, especially if it happens to be something that is native territory. Now, the brick is further out to California. It's like close to like the very edge to where like you can either go to Oregon or you can go to like Montana or some shit. It's out there. It's far enough away that nobody fucking knows it's there unless you fucking work there. So that's how that works. Then you have the people we presume to be dead. All right. So you have Hector Hudson Hobbs. He was a black sheriff. Technically, he was the deputy running for sheriff in Bennettsville. He don't make it. You have Ada Raven Longfeather. Ada, again, that name used from my great-grandmother who's a Native American. That's the sister of Hawk Aaron Longfeather. And the first victim, but it's told in a flashback versus the first victim in the book. When you open the book, it opens up badly. And then you have Bethany Melinda Summers with an O, Bennett. That is the wife of the sheriff, who he did some posthumous stuff with her and Deputy Hector Hudson Hobbs. Hudson is actually named after a friend of mine whose actual name, his middle name is Hector. So to David Hector Hutchinson, that's why I named him after my friend David. Now, David is still alive, but if you happen to see this, David, Hector Hudson Hobbs is named after you, and he's a black guy. The character's nothing like you, though, but he doesn't make it. So then you have the extra characters, and then you have the Ghost of the Dead. So I'm going to name, again, Aura Lightfoot, an ancestor. Her age is not available because she passed long before this story. Then you have Allie Ann Tomahawk. You have Thomas James Jones and Hector Hudson Hobbs. There is a part in the book where they're in heaven waiting to be processed, where they're talking to her. They're talking to Aura. All right? Then you have the special guest, the jackass that caused all this problem, Chief/Captain Stephen Crow Stoner. He's a Native American. He's the main bad guy, or at least the second main bad guy. I'm going to go back to the first page and show you the main bad guy in a minute. So these are the parents of Hawk Aaron Longfeather. You got his mom and his dad, Andrew and Lark. And Lark was a Hawk before she became a Longfeather. Her last name was Hawk, literally. And then you have his siblings, his older sister who's dead, Ada, and then you have him. All right. So then you have the Janet Longfeather's family, so you can understand how they're kin, and the Arrowhead family. So this basically gives you all the information that you're going to need about the characters in the book. It even breaks down to the Rivers family, and it leaves them off, and then it has extra guests, Ember, her family members. It has her mom and her dad, and it has her younger brother and younger sister and his kids and all this other stuff. It just goes on and on and on. This is a crew of 3 people that are girls. They do independent news, like how I make independent films. They make independent news. They travel the world. Bonita, who's half Native and half Korean, her name is Bonita Ling Park. She fights to earn the money so they can have places to stay, like hotels and drives. And then you have Lash Belinda Kingston. She's a black chick. She's the brains of the bunch. She controls all the drones and everything. And sometimes she also fights to help them make money. Now that's in here, but it's like minute. But Park's the muscle behind it. If anybody fucks with those girls, they got to get through her, and it's not going to happen. Her Korean daddy has prepared her for everything. Everything. And her native mom has prepared her for everything. Everything. She will never be a victim of MMIW. And so the only other one is Hispanic American, and her name is Gwen Casey Lopez. She is the leader of the 3 girls. I'm willing to let someone write a story about them as long as they don't die, don't get raped, and have a happy ending. You understand? I'm up for negotiations, but all my main characters, nah. That's not negotiable. They've suffered enough in this book that I'm writing. I will not let them go through anymore. Then you have the great-grandparents, the elders that I told you about. The Eric Falcon Tomahawk. And then you have Eden Brooke Cloud Dancer Tomahawk. So this is the Tomahawk elders. And then you have the elders for the family members. These are the Joneses. They're the grandparents that are black. These are the Brooks, or the Brocks. The Rivers grandparents. No. They're for, the other people. Or these might actually be the brothers and sisters, my bad. And these are the extra people that are also in families of certain. This is the Lopez girl's daddy. This is the black girl's daddy. This is the half half native, half Korean girls, mommy and daddy. So it just goes on and on and on. All right. So eventually you'll get down here to the extra guest characters, and they are all like mayors and shit, the wife and the husband of the mayors. And then if you get down here, you get your federal and state judges, because they have a little arc where the natives literally have to fly a helicopter to the town to find the judge convention. And then everything else goes into writer's notes and stuff like that. And the bodyguard is also, I believe, mentioned in this book because he protects Chief Aaron Armstrong. Now, back to the main bad guys. You got the Bennett gang, so to speak. You got the older brother, who is, where the fuck is he? The older brother is Chris J. Bennett. He's like the second, and then you have Herbie Scott, and you have Maxwell Moore. You have, all these guys are white, by the way. You have the last guy, Travis Lambert. All right, yes, Lambert, as in Christopher Lambert from The Highlander. That's where I got it from. All right, and as for McCoy, Scott T. McCoy, whose arc just ended over the weekend, he is from that of the Hatfield and McCoy. That's where I got that name from. All right. Now his father, not McCoy's, but the Bennett father. They're from the small town of Bennettsville, and everything at Bennettsville is on this one page. You got, which is the second page. You have all the racist people who own stuff, and you have Deputy Sheriff Lance Austin. Keep an eye on that guy. And then you have the main sheriff, Liam Bennett. He's a piece of shit. So he's also the reason why a lot of this shit goes down in this book. Him and one of his sons. Now his oldest son, Chris, is ex-military, and he's actually an innocent party in this. And there's some supplies and some surprises with him and another family member of theirs that is in a situation. And I don't want to give you anything else before this book is printed, and I don't want to give you anything else before the book is published. But the book is called Sundown. It is about a sundown town that don't like blacks or natives. When they have events there, the events are far and few between, which is why the mayor of the sundown town, the fuck is her name? Her name is Mary Beth Tony Tracer. She is the cousin of the sheriff, Liam Bennett, which you will get into as you read the book later. And they bump heads a lot. And then the owner, Wyatt Hampton, also a racist. He owns the impound yard, but he also owns the restaurant and some other shit. And it's a small town, so you know these people got money, the small town owners, but everybody else is just struggling to get through. But they're not willing to leave to go make a difference. There's a hotel-motel combination. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find it. It's called the Three Bills. It's literally called Bills, Bills, Bills. It's a hotel-motel. If you're going to stay in the hotel part, that's a whole lot more expensive than the motel part, because the motel, you just got like one little room. It plays a very key moment in the story. And once you see what you're going to get when you read that, you'll understand how important the Three Bills is. Across the street from the Three Bills is the Riley gas station, where people will witness some things but never come forward. But when the investigation comes there, they do everything they can to subvert the investigation from being fully investigated. However, when the natives come in full force with their MCC, Mobile Command Center, things get a little bit interesting. Now, I'm done talking. I hope I gave you enough interest to want to read the book when I get done writing the book and when it's finished. For the record, again, I'm on the last chapter. I'm hoping like fuck that I finish this book before Christmas. I don't have a guaranteed date of when I will have $2,000 to publish that or Love 13. So I need y'all to be out there looking for American Code of Reach and buy that book so that I can get you Sundown and get you Love 13 by way of page publishing. Each book costs $2,000, which I don't have. And the main reason I don't have it is because I lent people money and they don't talk to me anymore. That's pretty much the gist of it. So until then, I am your host, Echo Fan Grey Wolf. This is Kung Fu After number 2, BCNU. Thank you guys for being here.